It's all about relationships. As I've been traveling around the country and talking with hundreds of different tattoo artists, I've been engaging with some amazing people. And just recently I was out in eastern Utah, a place called Price, at the first annual Eastern Tattoo Expo. And it was there I met a person who was only kind enough to let me set up in his booth and use it as my place at my home base as I traverse the show. But I watched him take a prospective customer, who came up and wanted to buy a very expensive tattoo machine, and watched him not only educate this potential customer and artist on the difference between, or the components of this machine and its comparable machine, but he also sold this customer a machine that was a lot cheaper because that's all what they needed. It was more about the client and the customer relationship than the sale. And that person was Alan Rickard. Alan Rickard is the owner, founder and owner, CEO and master of Fifth Avenue Studio Supply. And I've gotten an opportunity to hang out with him again at the Colorado Tattoo Convention. Thanks for hanging out with me, Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I always like to share a story and then put a face behind the name, put a face behind the brand of Fifth Avenue. And I'd love for folks to know a little bit more about you, Alan. Tell us a little bit more about your history in the industry.
History in the industry actually is quite long and storied, if you will. My history in the industry started actually when I started getting tattooed back in 1987. That's where my passion for tattooing began. I was lucky enough in 1988 to start what I would say is the beginning of my apprenticeship, a part-time apprenticeship that lasted over 20 years. I was lucky enough to have a series of mentors that allowed me to apprentice part-time while I worked, quote-unquote, normal jobs. I worked in the corporate world, worked for a major oil company for over 20 years. And I was able to tattoo as an apprentice part-time for years. And near the end of that corporate career, I was lucky enough with my final mentor to actually purchase his shop and to be able to tattoo full-time after that career came to an end. At the onset of my full-time tattooing career, I reached out to my jewelry supplier. It ordered some jewelry, and the supplier informed me that that would be my last order because they were getting out of the business. Well, that supplier was Fifth Avenue Supply. And Fifth Avenue Supply had been around for many, many years. They were a jewelry manufacturer pre-NAFTA. And on the onset of NAFTA, that's when jewelry from China really flooded the market. And essentially, the profitability and things like that went away because American-made jewelry was obviously more expensive. So anyways, the owner of Fifth Avenue Supply and I had a conversation, and I bought this little tiny jewelry supply company, more for my wife to have something to do. The plan was she would run this little jewelry company, I would tattoo. Unfortunately, I had a bad back, a bad shoulder, already had surgery on both. Anyways, we had tattooers in town that encouraged us to bring in a few tattoo supplies here and there. And at my wife's encouragement, and a quote from one of my favorite movies, "If you build it, they will come," we started bringing in some supplies. And over time, Fifth Avenue Studio Supply, that we renamed it when we acquired it, has become now the largest tattoo supply company, professional only, in the Rocky Mountain region. We started essentially in 150 square feet in the back of our old tattoo shop, and we now occupy over 11,000 square feet warehouse space.
It's amazing.
And it's been quite a journey. It's been fun. We still continue to grow, but most importantly for me, I'm still able to be intimately involved in the industry, even though I can't physically tattoo anymore because the back and the shoulder just doesn't let me.
Sure. So, no, that's you're right. You're touching on some pretty strong pain points, if you will, as a lot of people in the industry, obviously, who after a time realize the wear and tear that it takes upon your body, and so we eventually want to and need to start navigating towards other sources of income and revenue and portions, like yourself, right? You got into the supply world, and now you're able to still be involved, but also helping and improving people's careers through providing them the tools they need. But it's also you're mentoring them in that sense too, or at least giving them a good example of the potential follow. And as I said at the beginning, it's all about relationships.
Yes.
And as a tattoo supplier, you build a lot of great relationships. And you said that you still get a lot of hands-on elements. You appreciate the hands-on element of your business because you're also at most of the conventions yourself, selling the supplies yourself and the face of Fifth Avenue. And you had also mentioned you're one of the largest tattoo supply companies in the Rocky Mountain region.
Right.
And so you've chosen to be regional for a reason, so you can be involved. And that's so you can provide better customer service and better expedited shipping and a plethora of reasons. I'm going to kind of dig into that a little bit. I mean, why you've chosen to be, solid in an area for your foundation.
Well, one of the biggest reasons for me is I like the face-to-face. I like, stepping back, when we really decided to go full force as a supply company, I had this thought in my mind that I wanted to treat my customers the way I wish I had been treated when I placed orders.
Yeah.
Now, I mean no disrespect to the other suppliers out there in the world, but as a matter of fact, when you place an order online, an order shows up on a computer somewhere, a pick ticket is printed or sent to a handheld, it is picked, it is packed, it is shipped. There's no real face attached to that. I personally wanted something more than that. I wanted to see a name come across. I wanted to know the face behind the name, if at all possible. I wanted my customers, especially in the beginning, to know that if they had an issue, they could pick up the phone and have the ability to speak to me personally. Now, granted, as the company grows, it's a little more difficult to maybe get to me on the phone immediately. My company's open right now as you and I speak. I'm in Colorado with you, so you're not going to pick up the phone and get to me right now. But you would speak to my daughter-in-law, who's running the show right now. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be able to speak to someone. But I like getting out to the shows. I like getting into the shops when it's all possible, just because I like that personal connection. I also like the fact that, and this might seem simplistic to a certain level, but I'm 54 years old, but oddly enough, that makes me actually kind of old in this industry. Mm-hmm. I can be the majority of the people's dads in this industry. But when I go out into the shows, when I go out into the shops, and when I hang out with these guys, it keeps me young.
Yep.
And I get jazzed hanging out with these guys, and I look at them not as these young kids. I look at them as my friends.
Yep.
I look up to them as much as anything. I'm so fascinated by their talent.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by what they're able to do. I'm more jazzed when I get on an airplane or when I get back into my truck heading back home about what I've seen them do.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, like I say, it keeps me young.
Yeah.
And it keeps me more excited to come back and see them again. When I walked into this show yesterday, I was excited. I don't think I was on the show floor for a minute before I started seeing faces I knew.
Yep.
And I was giving people hugs.
Yep.
And to me, that's what it's all about. I look at the tattoo community as a family, and these people are all part of my extended family, and that's how I look at it.
I love that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The community aspect you're talking about, when you're able to connect with people, like you're running old family members at a show, and being able to engage with these more youthful folks, but also keep your mind malleable as you learn from them. I think that comes in a instead of you being an elder trying to be a know-it-all, you're there as a wise peer who is a learn-it-all, right? You get to learn from them, but then also share information with them. And truly, obviously, if you're getting hugs, and I was there, that happened. If you're getting a warm reception after a few minutes of being in a show, you're doing something right. And I know you're humble enough to where you're probably not going to agree or whatnot, but I've had friends call you the king of the West when it comes to supplies because of your, like you said, you become the largest supplier in the Rocky Mountain region. But also, people are willing to say that. That's something, right? If they're willing to admit that, that means that they feel proud of you enough that they would say such things. And I feel that what I meant when I started with the story of you helping an artist get a machine she needed, not what you wanted her to pay, is showing somebody who's caring for their, not subjects, but, caring for their customers and caring for people that you're in charge of. And so, and then the fact that you're focused mostly on selling to professionals only, for those of us who are professional, we truly appreciate, you taking that ethical stance. And I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and getting to talk with you again and hang out with you again here in Denver. And I know that you've had a strong foundation for, I don't know, about a part of a decade. Yeah. And so you want to kind of highlight that. Is there something we could talk about for upcoming?
Absolutely. So May of 2014 is when we acquired Fifth Avenue Supply and when we created Fifth Avenue Studio Supply. So May of next year, 2024, will be our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
We've started to put together some ideas, so I don't have anything solid yet, but I can absolutely assure you that we are going to be doing some spectacular things next year. They will probably run the bulk of the year. We're going to be, I guarantee we're going to be running some special sales to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. I am absolutely going to be reaching out to, some of my supplier partners that I do business with and see what they can do to help me celebrate as well and pass along some special deals and savings. And honestly, I hope to do some giveaways as well, just as a way to celebrate and honestly to thank and pay back, because realistically, without the kind care, love, and support of all the customers and those that have helped grow Fifth Avenue, I certainly wouldn't be sitting here. If it wasn't for them, Fifth Avenue wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And, I do all I can to support them. And if I can offer, by way of celebration, a little bit back for them, I'll do what I can.
Awesome. So, if you're watching this, attention, sometime May of next year, 2024, about attention to the Fifth Avenue Studio Supply Instagram, website, any other ways that they can connect with you, and pay attention to the celebrations and not take advantage, but celebrate with Alan and his milestone of being open and being successful for a decade now. So I want to end on that appreciation, bouncing right back to you, Alan. You know, you have that humility that a leader and a wise sage would have, in that you appreciate the symbiosis, the karma of it, right? By giving, you receive. And since I've met you, you've been nothing but a giving person to the industry, and it seems as if you are receiving in a measured response to it, and a balanced response to it. And I highly suggest that, you know, if you're looking for high quality supplies, this is the face behind Fifth Avenue Studio Supply. And it makes a difference to those of us who care about the industry, that we're supporting people who are also supporting the industry. And I think anyone that could watch this interview will realize that you are a true good human being doing good things for those of us in the industry. And I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, and keep an eye out for these snippets and more for Fifth Avenue Supply. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.